All right. Okay, so we started last week on Gemara and Pesachim on page 76. I want to read the Gemara one more time, and then we're going to also do Tosafot here, which we didn't hit last week. I want to hit the Tosafot also. So the Gemara says as follows: Tosafot Gemara Pesachim 76b. Amara, Rav says again, a Hazara, okay? Basar shehuta shamen, a fatty kosher meat. It's going to sizzle. You put it in the oven. It's fatty. And you want to roast this in the oven. You want to bake it or roast it in the oven with not kosher meat that's not fatted. So you would say the sizzle is going to sizzle off the fat from the kosher meat, and the air is going to take the vapors and enter into the not kosher meat. Well, the not kosher meat ain't got no sizzle. It's lean. There's no fat. So it's not going to bring anything to the kosher side. Understand the question? You have a fatty piece of kosher meat and a non-fatty, very lean piece of not kosher meat. So you want to eat it. You want to eat the kosher meat. It's a big deal. I have not kosher in the oven. Kosher and not kosher together. You have you and your neighbor. What did you just say? We're going towards being mikvah. We'll start with this. I have one oven for the neighborhood. And so there's your meat's not that. So I understand that yours is filet mignon, juicy, and mine is a little hamburger, a little flat pancake. I'm going to absorb your moisture from your meat, but my meat's the good one. You're not giving me anything. That's the question. Why would it taste better? There's no what's carrying the taste. There's no fat. You're going to improve. He's saying you're going to improve the kosher meat. Yeah, let fadda. Enjoy. I did you a favor. So Rav says, "Basashi chotashi salon basar nevela kahush asur." Rav says you still can't eat the kosher meat. You still can't because it was in the oven with the non-kosher meat. My tama was the reason. They're going to fatten each other. They're going to moisturize each other. Any moisture you send over from the non-kosher side from the kosher side to the non-kosher side is going to fatten that one up, and it's going to send it back. Hey, Bobby, you weren't here a couple of weeks ago for the kids. We touched on this topic. Come sit. So that's Rav's opinion. Rav's opinion is you cannot cook kosher food with non-kosher food in the oven at the same time, because they're going to fatten each other. The vapors are going to fatten each other, and they're going to transfer liquidity. Levi Amar, we're not talking about uncooked. Levi Amar, Levi says, I feel about Levi says, even if you have kosher meat that's flat and lean, no fat on this, no sizzle on the kosher meat. She said, and I want to cook it in the same oven as a fatty, non-kosher steak, which is going to sizzle the fat. It's going to turn into vapor, and it's going to carry over onto the kosher, disgusting meat and make it a little better. Remember this? So, Mutad Levi held this allowed. Why? It's only air. It's only vapor. It's only air. It doesn't do anything. Doesn't count. Air doesn't count. This is what I started with the boys. Because the young kids asked me this question, that's when we got into this topic. Vapor is air? Vapor is reha. It's reha. It's steam. It's actually, it's a good question because somehow along the line, halachically, I don't know how this happened, the Gemara refers to this as reha. And somehow along the line in the halakha, it changes the word. And it uses different words, which I'll show you. It uses the word vapor, it uses the word different words. Now it's just the word reha. Reha is a smell, it's a flavor, it's a steam, it's just wind, ruach. It's nothing. So Levi holds it's nothing. If you want to cook non-kosher meat with kosher meat in the same oven, the Rav holds you're not allowed. Because reha is important. It imparts some flavor. And Levi holds it's allowed because it's only reha. Reha doesn't matter. Now, something we talked about last week, you had a whole back and forth with Yaakov. The whole point, we'll just do this really quick, the whole point when it comes to meat and milk, not kosher and kosher, all these situations is all about ta'am. It's all about ta'am. Did you affect the flavor of the dish? And so I told them last week, the whole example everyone knows, or you accidentally drop a little bit of butter into the chicken soup. So it's 1 in 60. So 1 in 60 is a rabbinic creation later on. It didn't start out as 1 in 60. It used to be that you have to go to a food guy, go to a chef, and ask him to taste the soup and tell me what you taste. And if you taste the butter, it's not kosher. If you didn't taste the butter, if you taste the butter, it's not kosher. If you didn't taste the butter, it's kosher. That's how it used to be. Ta'am, that's it. It's all about taste. Later on, the rabbi said this is too complicated. How do you know what imparts flavor, what doesn't impart flavor? You have to call an expert. Our recipes become gigantic. From now on, the rabbi said a rule: 1 in 60 imparts flavor. That's the deal. It's all about flavor. So the same thing would apply here. Levi would hold steam doesn't impart a noticeable flavor. It doesn't do a flavor. And Rav will hold it does. It does help. Now, there's a mahloket and there's a sefer called the Tarti Upalti, who says there's a mahloket whether, according to Rav, who hold you can't do this, you can't cook it because flavor counts, reha counts, is it mideoraita or midrabanan? Why? Why? Because how do you know the whole concept that even flavor is not allowed in kashrut laws? How do you know? It's a pasuk in the Torah that's talking about nazir. A nazir is not allowed to have grapes. Anything soaked with grapes, you can't eat it. You can't drink it. Even if you withdrew the grapes later on, I have liquid and I soaked it. I have liquid and I pour some grapes in my liquid, and now I want to take the grapes out. I'm a nazir. I'm not allowed to have grapes or wine, and I want to eat it. Can I eat it? No. Pasuk says straight out. This is mideoraita. So we have a halakha mideoraita. This concept of a flavor imparting is asur from the Torah. Is it that? And that same concept applies to steam, or where Rab hold even steam, even if he wants to say asur, it's not that level of isur of soaking something with grapes. It's more just rabbinic. And why rabbinic? There's a few reasons. One, marita ayin. There's another one. So there's a couple of reasons why it might be, but not from the Torah. It's a question if it's midoraita or midrabanan. Even according to Rav and according to Levi, it's mutad midrabanan. Now we said last week, Abi Levi Ubda. The story happened where in the Beresh Keluta, in the prince's house, in the Jewish prince, the leader, the exilarch's house, someone in the kitchen messed up. They put in the oven of the chief rabbi a goat and a pig. Maybe the help had pig for lunch. And they put their own lunch in at the same time, and they went to Levi and they said, what should we do? Levi said, kosher. Even though there was a pig in the oven, the same time as the meat. He said, eat the meat, it's fine. The pig, Levi was a rabbi in the Gemara. Levi actually ruled halakhically, it's fine. Nothing's going to happen if you put something together with it. So if you want to bring this back over to meat and dairy, Levi would hold the same thing. Levi would hold meat and dairy. Nothing's going to happen if you want to put the dairy and the meat in the oven at the same time. What's a big deal? Some steam. Levi would hold. And Rav will hold, no, reha, you cannot. It's the same halakha as the not kosher meat and the meat. Rav will hold, no, you can't cook dairy and meat in the oven at the same time. The Gemara goes forward and says, Metibe, question. We learned in a Biraita about the Korban Pesach. En solin shene pesachim ke'ahad. You're not allowed to roast 2 Korban Pesachs in one oven. Korban Pesach has to be ish b'michsat nefashot. It has to be a group of people. You're not allowed to have my Korban Pesach, and I'm not allowed to have your. I think I spoke about this in Shul on Pesach. You're not allowed to take your meat and go out of the circle and eat it out. You cannot. No leftovers, no nothing. So, and solin shene pesachim ke'ahad. You're not allowed to roast 2 Korban Pesachs in the same oven. Why? Because you're not allowed to mix it. Why can't you? Mix what? Mix the steam that's going up from the roasting. And so we see halachas like Rav that holds steam is asur, as the Gemara asks. My love, what are we talking about? Mixing what? Ta'arov ta'amim. You're going to mix the flavors from the steam. Kashya Levi. It's a question on Levi. Levi said steam is nothing. If according to Levi, why can I roast 2 Korban Pesachs in the same oven? So Levi will say, right, what does Levi do with this? You roast it in an open flame. Let's call it. They used to have these big filet pits. Yeah. So you can't put 2 in one barbecue. Levi, why not? What's the difference? My korban is giving some flavor to your korban. Let's say they were like rounded with a little hole on top. Let's say. But I'm not eating your meat. We're each going to eat our own meat. So Levi holds flavor is nothing though. That's the question. Levi holds flavor doesn't count. So Levi will answer and he says, no. When it says because of the mixture, it doesn't mean the mixture of flavors. It means you literally might make a mistake and take the wrong meat. There's two meats in the same oven. Oh, where's the meat? And you took the wrong one. Levi holds that halakha is talking about you might mix the animals up and take the wrong one. The Gemara says, you know what? That answer makes sense. How can I even stop it? You know what? It makes sense because the end of that passage, where it said you cannot do it, Tani B'Sefer says at the end, Afilo gedi v'taleh. You cannot even have. You want your korban pesach to be a goat, and I want mine to be a sheep. You can't even put them in the same oven together. Like
another whole different thing. Like you're bringing them,
but you're eating korban pesach. We eat it.
but when you bring the korban for shechita, it's like you're giving something that you're what do you call making amends for something.
Yeah, but not korban pesach. Not korban pesach.
But korbanot in general.
Yeah, but this case is specifically korban pesach halakha. You can cook other korbanot together. You cannot mix korban. Why? Because of this halakha. I can't have your korban, you can't have my korban. And so the end of the passage says, even a goat and a sheep. Well, even a goat and a sheep. What's the even? According to Levi, who's saying it's not about flavor. Flavor is fine. It's about mixing up meat. Even lamb and goat, which you shouldn't mix up, you might mix up. So even that you can't have. According to Rav, who holds it's just about flavors. What's the difference if I mix the flavor with the even a goat flavor? Can't mix two flavors. Finish. There's no even goats. The whole fact of Mishnah, the Raita has to say even a goat and a sheep seems like we're just literally afraid you might take the wrong animal. Not about flavors. You know, it says, if you're afraid you're going to mix up the bodies of the animals, I feel good over today. It makes sense. Even a goat and a sheep, which you shouldn't mix up, you might mix up. That makes sense. But if you're talking about tarab ta'amim, like Rav, it's all about flavors, water vapors going up, steam. Who cares what the two animals are? Every two animals has steam. What's the even? The goats don't have more steam than beef. The Gemara says, you must say that, yes, this Mishnah, this Plata is talking about mixing up the bodies of the animals. About but it seems like the flavors are no issue at all. The steam is no issue at all. So it's a question on Rav. Rav holds steam. We flipped it now. Rav holds steam is not allowed. And according to Rav, what does it say? Different bodies. Who cares about different bodies? Just two steams, that's all we care about. Yeah, only eating it. According to Rav, yeah. Rav is trying to say, you can't have my flavor in your korban. But then who cares what kind of animals they are? So the Gemara says, no, this is what we're talking about. You're cooking them in two separate pots. Two separate pots, the Gemara says? 1 second. Don't even say anything further. Two separate pots. You can't boil korban pesach. It has to be roasted. It doesn't go in a pot. Like the Gemara doesn't even let you finish the sentence. No. No, not two pots. It looks like it's two pots. It's like you took a big, huge barbecue hole and you piled up ashes in the middle and you sectioned them off. One over here and one over there. So it's like two separate cookings. I'm not going to mix up anything. No, you can't. That's the hidush. This is what it's going to say. You cannot roast two in the same oven, even with a wall of charcoal in between. Because we're afraid of the flavors. Even if you put a thing in between where there's no flavor going anywhere. If I pile up ashes in between or charcoal, the flavor cannot transfer from them. And then, that you can't do because of the bodies. And that's why even a goat. So the Rav will say, no, the Mishnah is talking about both cases. So it's not a proof. Last week, we brought one more case, and then Tosafot's going to bring another case. Amar Rav Mari. Mari says as follows. Ketanai, we have a mahloket. You have hot pita bread that you just took off the oven, and you want to take it, and you want it to, either intentionally, you want it to taste like wine, or you just want to hold it and put it on the barrel. You have wine barrels in your cellar. You want to take the hot pita and put them on top of the barrels because it's going to soak up some vapors from the wine. It'll be like, they have like aged It'll be pita aged with wine, red oak wine notes. So I want to take my hot pita and put it on top of the wine barrel. So it says the mahloket here in the Gemara. If I take hot bread, I put it on yain of tiruma. This in my section, I sectioned off some of my barrels. That's got to go to the Kohen. I'm not allowed to eat it. It's for the Kohen. I didn't give it to him yet. And I put my pitas on top of the wine because I wanted to get some of the Cabernet into the bread. It's going to steam up. The hot is going to absorb it. It's all yours. You don't want to give away even your vapors. So, Rabbi Meir says you can't do that. You can't put hot bread over the barrels of Tiruma wine. Vapor is something. It's flavor. Rabbi Yehuda says, nah, it's fine. You could do it. He holds like Levi must be. That vapor is nothing. There's a middle opinion. Rabbi Yosef says, Matid be'peshel chitin ve'oseh b'shel se'orim. If it's wheat bread, you could put it. Because wheat is a harder grain, the Gemara says, and it doesn't absorb. Remember we did this once when talking about the washing the mouth out between wheat and wheat. We did it a few months ago, maybe 2 months ago. The wheat is not going to absorb vapor. It doesn't let it in so much. But se'orim, barley, that's an absorbent grain, and it's going to take up whatever's in the wine barrel of tiruma. Se'orim shu'avot. Barley draws out liquid better than wheat does. So he holds for 3 opinions. One opinion is you can't do it with wheat or barley. Second opinion is, yeah, do it. It's fine. The third opinion is wheat, yes, you can do it. Barley, no. This must be the same mahloket. The one who holds that you could put the hot bread, he holds like Levi. What's the difference? Just like I could put ham and I could put kosher beef in the oven at the same time. Nothing's going to happen to me. Because reha is nothing. Vapors are nothing. And the other one holds reha nutahi. You can't put it because he holds like Rav that transfers of vapors counts. The Gemara says, L'da'at Levi, according to Levi, of course it's mahloket. Levi will say, yeah, that guy holds like me, and the other one holds like Rav. But according to Rav, Amar Abba bar bar Hana, Resh Lakish, Reshem Resh Lakish, Bepat Hama ve'habit pehtuha. If it's hot bread, and you took the casket barrel cover off, so the wine is actually exposed, and you put hot bread, that's like a slam dunk. No, it's gonna take it up because if you open the barrel top, the wine flavors are gonna go straight into the hot bread. Pat hama v'habit pehtuha, the divrei akol asur. Everyone holds you can't do it. Pat sonenet v'habit ben gufa. If it's cold bread and the cover of the wine is on, it's closed. Also, nothing's gonna happen because you need heat to absorb. So divrei akol mutar. It's allowed. Bepat hama v'habit hatuma. If you took hot bread and you put it on a closed barrel, or pat sonenet v'habit ptuha, or you took cold bread on an open barrel, that's the discussion. Those two cases. In our case of the meat, the ham in the oven at the same time as the kosher burger is the same as hot bread on an open barrel. It's very, very likely for the transfer to come over. Now the Gemara says, Tanir of Kahana b'dad Rav Hina Sabah. Pat she'afa'a im sali b'tanur. If you put parve bread in the oven at the same time as meat, asur le'ochla b'chutha. You can no longer eat that parve bread with dairy. It becomes meat. You put parve bread in the oven at the same time as meat. Bread. You put bread. You put bread in the oven at the same time as meat. Right. The bread is meatified. The bread becomes meat, which he holds like who? Like Rav. He holds that the vapors transfer over. This is the halakha. This is a psak halakha from Rav Kahana, the son of Rav Hina Sabah. And then when the Gemara brings another case, there was a piece of fish that was cooked in the oven at the same time as the meat. This can happen Erev Shabbat. You're making fish and meat, and they're both uncovered. We said this before in the beginning. We'll say this again. We're talking about uncovered. All the cases. All right? All the cases uncovered. You took fish and meat in the oven at the same time, uncovered. So this happened. There's a story that happened. Asra Rabba mi Parizka. Rabba from Parizkia said, you cannot eat this fish, the micha bechutha. You can't eat the fish anymore with dairy. Can you ever eat fish with dairy? It's going to take us back a couple of years, maybe last year. You cannot eat this fish with dairy because the fish has become meat. He holds like Ram, that the vapors transfer. Mad barabashi amad afilu b'mil hanami asura. Even eating the fish with salt, not dairy, with salt, cannot eat the fish. It was in the oven at the same time as meat, and fish and meat cannot be cooked at the same time. And he holds it's even stricter than than meat and dairy. Why? I'm sure there's a temperature, maybe. Yeah, so some of the poskim talk about this. That's why later on, maybe next week, we see halacha. Some poskim, modern poskim, want to say in our ovens it never gets to the yatzah that pour around it. It's also the size of the Tosafot. Yeah, Tosafot. Yeah, what Tosafot brings it. We read the Tosafot last week. Or we read it. I feel the milha nami asura. Even just alone, the fish you can't eat because the fish is meat now, and you can't have fish that's meat. Mishum de kashya lareha or the barahid is the second on the first row. The fish with meat the sakana, and it causes reha, bad breath, with the barahid sarah. We don't want you. Wait for the water. Yeah, don't eat it. And so therefore, we look at this. We have two halakhat sukkot like Rav. So if I asked you, who does the Gemara hold like? At the end of this Gemara, you would say like Rav. Because we have two stories where they actually did like Rav and they held that the vapor transfers over. But Rashi over here, very interesting Rashi. Rashi writes over here, even though in these stories we have over here with the fish that was cooked and the bread that was cooked in the oven, we hold like Rav that the transfer, the Gemara says, like Rav, that the transfer is a transfer of steam. Hilchita, says Rashi, Kavate de Levi. Rashi says halacha is like Levi anywhere. I don't care about the stories. And the transfer of steam doesn't matter. Rashi holds halacha l'maaseh. If you had ham and you had kosher meat in the oven at the same time, Levi, like Rashi says halacha is like Levi, it's kosher. Why? Because in Mesechet Avodah Zarah, there's a mahloket, and I'm going to read it to you right now. We didn't do this week. So this is no longer Hazara, this is new stuff. And Avodah Zarah, actually, I think it's like tomorrow or the next day is Daf Yomi Hazara for those who do. The Gemara says, there was, what is it? Hi Batiha. Let me read the English more. Let's get a proper translation here. Hi Batiha. There was a Batiha, or Batiha is a hole made in the stopper of a wine barrel. You ever go to the Herzog winery where you see that there's little holes where they can smell the wine or taste the wine, access holes to the wine barrels. I'm going to read you the bottom of the article. Batiha is a hole made in the stopper of a wine barrel through which one smells the wine to ascertain its quality and ability to keep. Okay? The Aruch explains that the tester would place his mouth over the hole and inhale the wine's aroma with his mouth. Okay? This is also the understanding of Rabbeinu Hananel, who explains that the tester does not place his mouth directly over the hole, but rather inserts a glass tube through which he sucks at the wine. That's what they do now. The tube has a hole in its side, so the wine that is sucked up into the tube does not actually reach the tester's mouth, but rather drains through the hole back into the barrel. You inhale only the aroma. You see that? They do take a glass little tube now and they sample. So, Batiha. There was a barrel with a hole. There's a barrel with a hole that you can smell the wine. Says the Gemara in Avodah Zarah. Obed kochavim b'di Yisrael shapir dami. If a goy wants to go to your not mevushal wine and smell your wine, wow, it smells so good. Did he ruin your wine? Because he smelled it. It's fine, says the Gemara. It's fine. Your wine's still kosher. What about the opposite case? Israel. If you're a Jew and you want to go smell some delicious yain netzech wine that's from a church or something, yain netzech, you want to smell it? It smells so good. Are you allowed to? It's just vapors. It's not. We just said Levi holds vapors. It's just vapors, right? Abaye Amar Asu. Abaye says you can't do it. The benefit of scent. No, the benefit of it's not a gezerah. He doesn't see it like gezerah. Abaye says Asur. It's a riha. Rabba Amar Mutar. Rabba says go ahead and smell it. Before we go further, what do you think the halacha is? Is you could smell it? Abaye, let's see the reasons. Abaye Amar Asur. Abaye says you can't do it. Riha miltahi. Exactly the words of Gemara. The vapors are something. It's like eating almost. Rabba Amar Mutar. Rabba says you're allowed. Reha lav miltahi. Vapors don't matter, Rabba holds. Now, Rabba says, oh, we'll just run one more case in this Gemara with Azar. Amar Rabba. How do I know that riha is nothing? Just vapors doesn't count. Tetanan, we learn. Tanur shehesiko bekamun. If you took an oven and you roasted kumin inside the oven, kamun. Shel teruma, and the kumin is his. The kamun is his kamun. It's teruma. You're not allowed to enjoy it. The afab watapat, and then I put after I burned the kamun, so the oven's nice and kamuned up. I put some pita bread in there. Apat muteret, you're allowed to eat the bread. Fishe'en ta'am kamun ela reha, because you're not getting the flavor of kamun, you're getting the vapor of kamun. This is Rabba's proof. Now, the interesting thing is, look at Rambam. Rambam says, Achelot Asurot, chapter 13. Rabbah holds, Rav holds you can't do it, and Rabbah here holds you can do it, and Abaye here holds you can't do it. Got the names? Rambam. A goy is allowed to smell our wine. This everyone says is okay. A Jew is allowed to smell yain nesech. A Jew is allowed to smell. He holds halakha l'maaseh, and this Gemara like Rabbah, riha lav miltah. Ve'en bazeh shem isur she'en hareach klum. Rambam says the reach is nothing. Lefi she'en bo mamash. It's not actually anything. It's just steam. It's just vapors. So Rashi in our Gemara says, I understand at the end of the Gemara, there's stories about the fish in the oven and the bread in the oven, and you want to say halakha like Rav. If you say the bread became meat, this is Rav. But Rashi says, I can't hold halakha like Rav. Because what about this Gemara? This Gemara we say straight out, you could drink the wine. You can smell the wine of the goy. Because reha is not miltahi. So Rashi says, Afagav the kaimitina ikavet Rav. Very good. Hold that thought. Even though the halakha in our Gemara says like Rav, the halakha must follow Levi. If the go Abaye v'Rabba gabe batiha b'mesechet avodah zarah, Abaye and Rabba have a mahloket regarding it's called a dung hole. I don't know, a bung hole. Not dung, bung. A bung hole. It's the hole in the. There's a mahloket in avodah zarah about the bung hole. Become like Rabbah b'shitetet Levi, and Rabbah holds like Levi. Ve'amar reha lav niltahi. Reha is nothing. Abaye v'Rabbah, we have a rule. Abaye and Rabbah, halakha, usually almost 99.9% of the time follows Rabbah. Hilchataki Rabbah, except for Ya'al Kedam, right? Very few cases. And I found also that she says in the Geonim. Not too often you see Rashi here, right? A whole halakha psak. I find in the Tshuvot Geonim also. The Af Mishemot Rabbi Eliezer ben Yitzhak, even in the name of Rabbi Eliezer ben Yitzhak, I found he wrote Ne'amar li de lo hayashla. It was told to me that we don't care about the vapors. So Rashi says halakha is like Levi. So according to Rashi, if you had that case like in the Reshke Luta's house, where literally your maid, she put her McDonald's cheeseburger in your oven the same time as your Shabbat food, Levi would say eat it, and Rashi would say eat it too. Tosafot says, Mikan posek Rabbeinu Tam kerav. because of the stories of we have a story here, Rabba Parizika. He says you can't even eat the fish with anything because it's meat, it's all meatified. Must be halachas like Rav. Halachas follows the stories, not like Levi. So Tosafot says, Mikan posek Rabbeinu Tam kerav. Rabbeinu Tam, who's Rashi's grandson, argues, and he holds halachas like Rav. But Rabba Nami Deshari Batiha, and I know you're going to ask me, says Tosafot, about this Imara with the bunghole. About Rabba saying, it's just the vapors, smell it all you want. Mati Savad Kavate, even Rabba, who holds it's allowed to smell the vapors of the wine, he could also hold an arrogant Mara, you can't cook the meat. Vesham Mifurash, and over there I explain it well. Two separate things. The Tosafot here, it's kind of hard to understand. I'll read you a little bit of what he says. Here. It's very long Tosafot, so I'm not going to read the whole thing.
One is smelling something, and the other wasn't smelling. It's so
Smell affects the taste.
right. The smell
Would it be more sweet with food than with smell? Would the smell get corrected?
Yeah, I would say, that's the point. I would say the opposite. The smell is going straight into my nose. It's not even batel, if anything.
But
smelling something is not
yeah,
eating something.
is there anything that we're not allowed to smell?
On Pesach, you walk by a bakery, non-kosher bakery, or kosher bakery, and you smell the bread. Getting pleasure from it?
Or the same way with
You are getting pleasure.
the lemons with the clothes on, Yom Kippur, that would be.
Yeah, there are many that don't smell the same in Chinese.
Yeah.
There are many that don't do that. I want to find this schema out. This
But
very,
even people who don't do that, they're gonna smell something.
yeah,
They would have to put their nose on.
that's true.
A little bakery. And
Pork.
Somebody was looking inside the bakery
Oh,
so much.
You tasted it in the cookie. Halachas like Rav, see? So listen to this. Tosafot, it's a giant Tosafot. We can't read the whole thing. Tosafot in that Gemara says, in Perek Ketat Sulin, in Pesachim, in our Gemara that we started, Piligi Nami Rav Levi, Bereha Kave Basar Shamen Shetelon Basar Nevela. We had a mahloket regarding not kosher meat together in the oven with kosher meat. Rav Astar Levi Share. Rav said it's not allowed, and Levi said it is allowed. Behatam Tanyaka Betedarav. And over there, we learned halakha, the stories in the Gemara like Rav. Upiresham Rashi, but Rashi explains, Afagav the Tanya Rav, halakha is like Levi. Rashi over there says, halakha is like Levi Deshari. Mishum derabah savar kavete hacha gabe batiha, because of our story here would be bunghole. So Rashi, my grandfather, is saying that halakha follows the Gemara and Avodah Zarah, not like the stories in Pesachim. Tosafot and Avodah Zarah. So now, he says, the halakha ki Rabbah lagabe Abaye. The halakha must always follow Rabbah. Upasak Rashi perek Ketzat Solim v'lo nid'eh. I don't agree with Rashi. Dehatam ka'amar ve'ubda hava be'ahu binita ve'itva'a b'hadeh bisra ve'asrei Rabbah miparizika. We had a story there, clear-cut story. It's called Ma'aseh Rav. A story in the Gemara is always more powerful than a phrase. Something happened. There was a piece of fish cooked in the oven, and the rabbi said, you cannot eat the fish. It's because of danger, it might be. Right. We have a Ma'aseh Rav. So that says Ma'aseh Rav, the story of an actual psak from the rabbi. V'gam ma'ad barav ashti oseh sham afil b'milcha. V'ilchet v'halakha kimoto bar mitre mili. Also, if the mahloket is tied to each other, the Gemara here in Avodah Zarah should have brought the Gemara in Pesachim. Doesn't mention the Gemara in Pesachim. Why? It's the same halakha, it's the same thing. You should bring it over here. Therefore, it seems to me, says the support, the halakha must be like Rav. That steam does carry flavor, and it's not like Levi. Steam is asur. It counts. But over here also, halakha is like Rabbah. That the vapors of the smell doesn't matter. I want both, says Tosafot. I want both. Vapor smells don't matter, and the flavor smells do matter. Dere halav nutahi. Here. Tishani haka, it's different here. Shunene umeriach mina isur hayayin atzmo. Because you're literally smelling the wine and having immediate enjoyment from the smell. It's literally almost like you're drinking. Like Rabbi was saying, when you're smelling something, you're getting all the benefit. When something's in the oven, I'm not really sure if you can quantify the benefit, and it's in the oven at the same time. Over there, it's only steam going in. I'm only eating the kosher part. Abaye, in our Gemara and Avodah Zarah, who says you cannot smell the wine, says to the foot, he would say you can eat. Abaye would hold like Levi, or Abaye would hold like Rabbi. And so I'm not really sure exactly the difference. You can split hairs. Maybe like you guys said, smelling is different than eating. But Tosafot holds halakha l'ma'aseh, halakha is like Rab, that you cannot. And so let's bring this to milk and meat. Tosafot would say, can I put milk and meat in the oven at the same time? Tosafot says no. Rashi would say yes. Now, the story of Levi, the Gemara brought a story of Levi. It said, and it happened in the Resh Galuta's house. Remember I told you this? Where one of the helpers put pig and meat in the oven at the same time, and he held it aloud. That seems like, why do you have to tell me this? It happened. It seems only b'di'avad. It seems like Levi only let it happen, only said it's kosher once it already happens. But lechatechila, Levi would never say go cook pig in the same oven as beef. Most Mefarshim say this. Even Levi, who holds you can cook two things in the oven at the same time, is only b'di'avad, only once it happened. But lechatechila, to cook two uncovered items in the oven at the same time, even Levi would say, don't do it. Kosher, not kosher, meat and milk, all the things. Uncovered, again, all uncovered we're talking. Levi would say, don't do it. Is it? Okay, I did it. Eat it. That's what Levi would hold. There's one person, we're going to do that also, we'll get there. There's one giant posek who says, not like I just said, who says, no, Levi is even the chatehila. And this is none other than the Ramban, Nachmanides. Ramban says, Levi is the chatehila. Levi says, go ahead. I don't care about vapors and steams. Do whatever you want. But everyone else holds that Levi holds the chatehila. You shouldn't do it. But if someone did it, tell them it's kosher. Ramban about the stories? He holds like Rashi. Ramban holds like Rashi. I don't know why they brought those stories. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe it was like the best example. I don't know. It's a good question. It's because it does sound like b'diavad, right? It would have been better if the Gemara brought a story and said, Levi said, go do it. But Ramban, it's in the Melchemet Hashem. Ramban says this. He says it's lechatechila. I think it's a little dohak to say. I mean, everyone else holds Ramban, holds not like Ramban. Even Levi lechatechila would say, don't do it. The Vilna Gaon says maybe it's because manita ayin. Like there's different reasons why you shouldn't do it. But if you did it, it's fine. Smelling wine, Ramban, I read you the Ramban. Ramban says you're allowed to. So smelling wine, halakha l'maaseh, that's finished. We close the case on that. It's allowed. In terms of the steam, so far we have mahloket. Rav and Levi. Rav holds you can't, even if you did it, it's not kosher. And Levi will hold if you did it, it is kosher. And then just to finish the Tosafot with what Rabbi said, the Tosafot says, in our gigantic ovens, Tosafot, they used to have bigger ovens than they have now. And then before the big oven time, they had smaller ovens. In the time of the Gemara, they were smaller. Seems like from Tosafot, they got bigger, and now they're smaller. In our gigantic ovens, you can do all these things. Since they're covered good, two pots. שיש להרחיק ואין נראה לרבי שיהיה אסור שיש אוויר מרובה בתנור וההבל מתפשט. There's tons of room in the oven and it's open. We'll bring some post-team to talk about this in a second. So we'll come back to that. It's on the list. Okay, so now we have Mahloket Rav and we have what do you call it? Levi. Who does Rambam hold like? Rav or Levi? Rashi or Tosafot? So Rambam says, "En solin basar shechuta in basar nevela, en solin basar shechuta in basar nevela, or behemat teme'ah betanur echad." Rambam says you cannot cook kosher and not kosher in the same oven. Alpha pish enogin zevaze, even though they're not touching each other. V'im selaan, but if you did it already, areze mutar, it's allowed. That's Levi. Rambam is holding like Rashi. Reha doesn't count. Rambam holds like Levi, but like I said, not the Fatihila. He starts out saying you can't do it. If you did it already, it's kosher. Exactly our Gemara. Even if the not kosher meat was so fatty and steamy and sizzly, and the kosher meat is so thin, so it's going to absorb all that moisture. And Rabbi, I did it already. Reach eno oser. Riha is nothing, says the Rambam. Eno oser ela ta'amot al-yisud. It's only taste that makes something asud, and taste does not carry in vapor and steam, says Rambam.
If you said it, did he have value spoken?
It's a machloket. Everyone holds the B'diavad besides for the Rambam. Ramban Nachmani holds the Fatihila. Kesef Mishneh, on that, this is written by the Master Haruch. Kesef Mishneh says, yeah, this Rambam comes from the Gemara Pesachim that we just read. Amara Basash Utash Shamen Shisalam B'Tanu V'Laka Hushasud. My Ta'ana, with the Patrim added, like we just read this. I'll skip ahead. Upasak Rabbeinu Kelevi. Rabbeinu the Rambam holds like Levi. The Shari that it's allowed. V'Chem Pasak Bahag. And Bahag also holds like Levi. The Tosafot Kadvu, but Tosafot Rabbeinu Tam says the Halakha Kerav. Halakha is like Rav. The Ta'anot, the Te'azvarot, Ketuvot, Be'orech, V'Dvei Arif Raman. Go check over there if you want to read more. Okay, now we have the two. The Arba'at Turim, which is the son of the Rosh. He writes as follows: Reach shel isur shenet aref beheter. Steam of something not kosher that was in the oven at the same time as something kosher. Kegon basar nevela sheselot betanur im basar shechuta, like not kosher meat with kosher meat. Heligi ber Rav v'Levi. There's a machloket. Rav asad v'Levi shari upasak Rashi kelevi the shari, and also the Bahag holds like Levi. V'Rabbeinu Tam it was what pasad kerav the asad. Fil basar nevela kahush, even if the kosher meat is very little and the basar nevela is fat. Now, he says, if you did it already, afil basar nevela kahush, and the basar nevela is lean and not fatty, in basar shamesh shechuta, and the Rav will hold, even if you did it already and your kosher meat was sizzly and fatty, it's asur, the reach kihaimutahi, because Rav holds the reach counts and the B holds it does it. The Rashba writes, Haskamat Rov Hamorim. Most of the teachers say, Lehatir, that it's kosher, mikom akom. However, says the truth, Lechatchila asur l'salotam biyachad. Rashba says, almost all the poskim hold like Levi, that it's kosher b'diavad once it happened. But says the truth, Lechatchila asur l'salotam b'tanustat. You cannot cook them together, preferably in a small oven, says the truth. B'tanur sad. If you cut them in pots, in separate pots, each one to themselves, I feel betanur sa'at. What time is Mincha? Okay. Let me just finish this too. Umaskanat Avi Adoni Harosh, who's the son of the Rosh. My father, the Rosh, held Kerabino Tam like Kerabino Tam. The Rosh held like, that's a big one. The Rosh is one of the three pillars of Halakha. He held like Rav that it's not allowed. But Vedafka B'Tanorim Shelahim, only talking about those old ovens Shehem Mechusim, that they're covered completely, like ours now. They're back to being covered completely. Because the steam has nowhere to escape to. But in our gigantic ovens, with open tops or open sides so the steam can escape, it's fine. And so, what's the nafkamina? You take our oven, you open the door crack. Even according to Rav, it'll be allowed. Or it'll be sizzled by the walls, which Roman Shafai talk about this. Let me finish because we have my minha. Remember the piece of bread on the wine? Halakha says the rosh, the food. If I take hot bread and I put it on an open cask of wine, of of wine tiruma. There is no tiruma these days. So he changed it to yain nesef. Yain nesef, asur, you cannot eat that hot bread. The fish collected hareach haber because it absorbs all the flavor. But if the bread is cold, even if the barrel is wide open, or pat hamad habib situma, or a hot bread with a closed barrel, mutar. And he says also, the yain nesef, you can also smell the bunghole of the wine. He's having all in one. So the tube is delicious. He collects all these various things all together. So we continue next week.